truly an honor to welcome you as we kick off our Saturday Success Training event. If you are new or just joining us for the first time, we especially want to welcome you today as well. Hello, my name is Gary Fink, and I want you to know I'm really excited and most grateful to be here with you. This is a very special time in the life of our company, and many of you, I'm sure, know how important timing is in business. Well, what we are experiencing right now is literally, in my estimation, history in the making. And I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I had a real estate development company. When I received a call years ago that introduced me to what we have today, which is the residual cash rewards, as I was able to grow a business internationally, what became a billion-dollar powerhouse company, and it changed my life every year for 25 years. So it was deja vu all over again for me, meeting Steve and seeing this company at this early stage. I still, even today, can hardly believe it, knowing how important timing is in business. And we are so fortunate to have the right products at the right time in the fastest growing markets with the right company and the right leadership, all of which is so unique and so special. Really, you hardly ever see this. And to have all this come together at the same time is really amazing. So I'm thrilled to introduce someone who I was immediately impressed with and really excited the very first time we met. He's extremely accomplished in his own right, having been CEO to 3 international direct sale companies over 25 years. And listen to this, scaled each company to over $1 billion. He's truly a visionary with what he has developed, and especially with his development team and with all these amazing innovations. So it is my distinct pleasure and honor to introduce to you the founder and the CEO of Pxch, Mr. Steve Jamison. So take it away, Steve.
Hey, Gary, thank you. And just remember, in the next introduction, you also have to explain all my failures, right? So that way people get the complete balance. And quite honestly, the reason my failures are important is because they're the ones that really led to the success. I must say success sometimes is overrated. Failures are never overrated because those painful lessons stay with you in that perspective. And I know I'm in good company with some of the great leaders of companies in the world, right? Steve Jobs was fired, right? I always go back to his most important introduction in history when he introduced the Apple computer and he couldn't get it to say hello, right? which literally changed the world. So I would say that I'm in good company. Today's meeting, and Scott, I know you're brand new, and I'll make sure that you don't feel like you walked into a shopping mall and you don't know what department you're in. We'll try to put things in context for you. But today's really is about the visualization of the company. And why is that important? And I would say to you that when Harry says write 3 things down, if I could share one thing that I would say that I would like you to take away from today's phone call. Oh, I'm sorry, let me mute. I don't know why always people like to unmute. Yeah. If I could say one thing that's important, it's not, I'd say that I learned that there's 3 things that make a company great. One is its vision, one is its idea, and one is its why. And today is not so much about you buying into those 3 things that you find here today. It's finding your own. You need your why. You need your vision. You need your idea. And the reason that you may resonate while you're here today is because we share the same one. And I'll say to you that the first time that I heard the most powerful why that stayed with me and actually in some ways changed the future of my career is when I met someone that you may have heard of, Mark Hughes, the founder of Herbalife. He was a New York kid, really good looking, charismatic, and had a vision about where he wanted to go in the future. But his vision didn't come only because he had an idea. His vision came when I went to go hear him speak at a party that I was invited to at his home with 3,000 people. And he got up and he didn't talk about that Herbalife was a great opportunity. He didn't talk about the science. He didn't talk about why this is the future of nutrition. He talked about that the reason he was here today is that his mom died from diet pills, struggling for 40 years about trying to lose weight, was so desperate that she died from an overdose of taking those pills. That's all I heard. That was his why. The vision was the company. The idea was a nutritional shake. but his why is something that I thought, can I find that why in my life? And I ask you the same thing. Can you find that why in yours? Because that's what happens of how you get over the tough times. That's how you get through your failures, because you know always what your why is. And Herbalife had many failures, right? In less than a year, they went from $2 million a month in sales, like every other company struggling in the marketplace, to $90 million a month in sales. Less than a year, because he had his why. But you know what also happened? The government didn't appreciate their growth, didn't appreciate their science, didn't appreciate their formulations. And 1 year later, they went from $90 million to back to $2 million a month in sales as they took on the government. And the reason they then went today to be a $5 billion company a year was because of their why. Now, it's interesting. I then years later went to an Herbalife, and I never got involved. I actually became friends with Mark and actually was a consultant to him to help him behind the scenes run the business, because I was a talent agent at the time, at the largest talent agency in the world, representing not only actors and actresses, but production companies. And at that very same party, he said to me, can you explain to me something? You know, what does a talent agent actually do? He goes, I don't really understand. I only know my business. And I said, I build relationships and I negotiate contracts. And he said, you know what? I have terrible relationships with my vendors and I have terrible contracts. Can I be your client? And I said, I don't know anything about your business. He goes, well, I don't know anything about yours, so we're even. He goes, but I have just a feeling about you. And so I did that. And that's how I got an education with Mark about that industry. But then I went to one of his standard Herbalife meetings that he wasn't there when I was trying to learn the business. And during that entire meeting, all they talked about was making money. All they talked about was the science. All they talked about the nutrition. They never talked about the why. And I actually thought, this is a business I don't really want to be involved in. Years later, I get a call from the top 2 distributors at Herbalife, who I became friends with, who went to go form their own company in Texas. And they had a CEO who was running their company. And he left after 6 months because they were a mattress salesman and a carpet cleaner. And he thought, I'm not signing up to go work with these guys. And so they called me and to ask me if I would leave the entertainment business and help run their company. And I said to them, again, I don't even like your business, never mind understand your business. And they said, but we need your help and you're the smartest guy we know. And I said, that's not a compliment. You don't know any smart people. They said, but still, you know, so we negotiated a deal, and all of a sudden I go from representing famous actors and actresses to representing distributors. And I found them to be the same. I found that everyone was still trying to chase the brass ring, right? Whether the actors and actresses chasing it for the first time or distributors chasing it for maybe the last time, everyone had a dream. Everyone had an idea. Everyone had a why, but they didn't have a vision. And I thought to myself, the reason I took the job is maybe I could be someone like Mark for these guys. That was my why at the time. 25 years later, $4 billion in sales, running a global international company, I think I made the right decision. So after I sold my last company, after 25 years, I became a consultant to all my old competitors. I always like to say to get even with them one more time, and that actually is true, and I actually enjoyed that. And then I opened up a technology company to be a better consultant. And lo and behold, I get a call out of the blue from Zoom, who was trying to go public and they wanted market share. And they thought my relationship with all the direct selling companies and all the CEOs could be a fast track for them to get as many licenses as possible. And I said, I didn't work this hard to be a Zoom reseller. I said, but if I could own the customers, if I could build the experience, if I could bring my creativity and innovation, I said, I'm in. And we both made the right decision. Again, I became the largest ISV partner to Zoom in the world for about 4.5 years. until, as I like to say, I had my arrogant or ignorant moment where I go to Eric and Zoom, who's the owner, and I said, I think I know how Zoom can do it better. They said, great, but we're not interested in doing it better. We're interested in the way we're doing it. And so they never expected me to walk away from our contract, go into litigation to do that, and decide to compete with them instead of partner. So Scott, I just want you to know that's how we got here today, with my why, my vision, and my idea. And what that is, very simply, is that I've seen people make the best presentations in the world. And every time they did on a Zoom, you know what happened? Absolutely nothing, because they couldn't touch the screen. No one could enroll in a product. No one can purchase a product. No one could sign a contract. No one can share the screen. And that was this general idea that I thought was so big, I thought was so important. And then I also had the vision or the idea that it shouldn't be limited to webinars. Why not do it in text? Why not do it in emails? Why not do it in social media broadcasting? So we went from a Zoom alternative to a touch point platform that any single time you reach out and touch someone exactly the way you want, that action can happen in the moment. I thought, and I still believe today, and so does our team, that that's as transformational as going from the Motorola flip phone, where you can make only a phone call and a text, to the smartphone, right? And so that's the mission we're improving. And I would also say to you that we've never even opened yet. Why today's call is so important about the vision, I want to share something with you, right? We haven't introduced our best product, our best version on our best day. That's what's going to be happen come the fall, come September 1st. We started out with a very simple premise of we're going to be an interactive platform. Then my failure as a CEO, which took us about 16 months to build, was not recognizing AI is taking over the world. And everyone was doing AI in a small way, talking about it, but I didn't see it for what it was. And I went to our team after working for 16 months, and I said to them, guess what, guys? Vision's changed. And we have a choice. We can build AI on top of our platform, or we could be as bold in our decision as we were when we started this company and rebuild it from scratch, even though we haven't even launched yet. I can tell you they weren't that excited about the idea. But that's why I've worked with them for 6 years, because they're the team that takes my idea, takes my vision, because they believe in our why, and they went to work and feverishly for what they did in 16 months to do it in 6 months. And the culmination of that is what you're going to see in about a week. The culmination of that is what Roger pointed out earlier, which was the final piece of the puzzle, which was the CRM. So I know that we like to say that expression, you've seen nothing yet. I can tell you that you really haven't. You really haven't, in the sense of we will be the computer now that says hello, right? So it's very clear, right, where we started, where we are, but also where we're going. I see the platform so much more than it is even when we launch next week. And imagine, I'm saying, having an AI agent work for you, that when you send an interactive text, it's still selling after the text is over. Imagine coming into a platform and you have no one to talk to. And we have the technology that can provide that as well. So the future of where we're going, of being truly a touch point conversion platform, even though we're launching that, I would say, in a very short period of time, it's only the beginning in that perspective. So the other thing that's always critical, right, is for people to experience the platform. Because I don't care how much I explain this, right? We all know, who've been on this call today, that if they don't experience the platform, they don't understand it. And one of the ways that I help people experience the platform right, is to invite them to demos or to have special guests. And so I wanted to have a special guest explain our why, our vision, and idea. And yesterday I was struggling with who could that be? Who could say it better than me? And I thought, you know what? The truth is, no one can. So my special guest today that I'm going to share with you right now is our platform. And it's me speaking about our platform that you guys can sort of have as a takeaway. So here we go.
When you start a company, everyone wants to know what your vision is, how it came to be, and where it will take you. It helps people understand who you are, what drives you, and helps them decide if they want to be a part of it. When I was growing up, my mother would sometimes read me stories at night, Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood, and sometimes she would read me biblical stories like Noah and the Ark and Samson and Delilah. And they all seemed equally scary to me. But the one story I always remembered was when I was told the very first words spoken by God to man were, "Let there be light." Not because I was religious, but maybe because I was afraid of the dark. I am still not sure. But as I got older, I grew to understand we weren't talking about the light in the sky, but shedding light on each other with heartfelt thoughts, intellect, and understanding through our ability to communicate. And maybe that's why I have been trying to shed the light and be a great communicator ever since. And when you look back at the history of how we communicate, we have come a long way from just the spoken word. We have gone from only our own voice to writing on stone, then paper, to the printing press, which of course led to books. Then we first went wired with the telegraph and telephone. But then everything changed. We discovered mass communication with the movies, radio, television, and then moved on to digital with mobile phones, texting, the internet, emails, webinars, and eventually social media. So what is next? I believe it's Pxch, and let me tell you why. If you notice, almost all of these forms of communication I mentioned are still being used and evolving today. Whether it was going from AM to FM, black and white to color, texting to SMS, websites to social media sites, social media to podcasts, no one is going away or sitting on the sidelines. But Pxch is the only company today positioned to transform all of them simultaneously into a real-time, anytime, interactive experience. That is our vision. Not to be tied to one platform, but to transform them all as dramatically as the invention of each one itself. What company today is even considering this approach? Yes, other companies are considering their own strategies and can zoom with a buy button, but they are thinking features. We are creating an experience. That is why the vision was never to be simply an alternative webinar platform, but to be a local, global, multi-language, multi-touchpoint platform that not only helps people to share the light, but also be able to light the fire under your prospects, whenever and however your message is delivered. Every company has its own vision, and visions change sometimes along with the times. But I believe the companies that succeed and go beyond their own expectations are because their why never changes, just the vision on how to execute it. Our why here at Pxch is not driven by the impact we believe our technology can have on the millions of people who will soon be using our platform, but our why is driven by the impact they have on us. We feel their impact every time we do a demo, every time they log on and create an experience they couldn't have had before Pxch. That's what makes us get up in the morning and do the work we have to do to execute our vision. That's our algorithm. That's our inspiration. That's our why. That's Pxch.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And notice I'm wearing the matching blue shirt. I did that for you guys today. Okay. So with that, Gary, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, Steve, I got to say that's amazing, and that's one of the most powerful videos I've seen you do, and that's so inspiring. And I hope we'll all have an opportunity to be able to see that on our back offices soon. But anyways, I'd like to share a few thoughts about trainings and then introduce our next speaker. Let me start by asking a few questions that might be helpful. So think about this: how can we all be the best service to others? to share what Pxch is all about, what Pxch can do to improve people's businesses, their lives, their lifestyle, their quality of life. And as you all know, so many ways Pxch can impact people's lives. So how can we all do this the best way we can and to share this amazing story of Pxch? Well, some of what I've learned over 25 years was I was always hungry to hear about other people's stories, to learn from those who are getting great results, who are already successful. I became a sponge. I soaked in everything I could. And how did I do that? I did that by showing up everywhere I could. Every training, took lots of notes, showed up, and I can't even read my own writing, by the way, showed up to even every event I could. I got plugged in every way possible. So you probably have heard this before, and it's absolutely true. Success leaves clues, right? 90% of success is showing up. Do what successful people do, and you can be successful too. So when we say that, what do the most successful people really do? Well, they're the ones who always show up, who are always in the right place at the right time. And this is the key, to attract success to them. Let me say it again, to attract success to them. Well, what does that mean? You know, you're going to hear people say, oh, he or she was really lucky. They just happened to find some really great people. You know, what most people miss is this. It was not luck at all. What they did was continually put themselves in the best position possible to be successful. And so what does that mean? Well, this is what I've learned over the years. Be coachable, be willing to learn, show up, lead by example, plug into all the company events, the open house events, the onboard trainings, and look at what Steve Jamieson does every day. And I think this is really important, leading by example, putting himself out there consistently every day for every one of us, showing us all the way what to do, giving us every opportunity to create our success. That is what is so impressive. And by the way, that is what makes me want to show up as well. And that is true leadership. That is what each of us can do in our own way, be the inspiration for others, be the best ambassador for Pxch, and be the best ambassador for yourself as well, by the way. So be a sponge, listen and learn from Steve. And I always ask myself the question, do you think we can all benefit from his 25 years of experience building billion-dollar companies? Pretty obvious answer, right? Absolutely. And the same is true with our Pxch Pro trainings. For every leader who will share all of their success, their tips, their advice, to hear their stories so you can accelerate your learning curve and help you create your success, all of which is absolutely invaluable if you really think about it. And now it's my pleasure to introduce a very successful leader with some really great experience and one of the best coaches and trainers nationally and internationally, who, by the way, worked with Steve Jamieson years ago, and I know he'll tell his story, and is now leading the way once again with our Pxch Pro training. So it's my pleasure and my honor to introduce Harry Nouhan.
Thank you very much, Gary. Appreciate that. Steve, and great video, great vision. I love it. My name's Harry Nouhan. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. And like Steve, one of my first early mentors, when I heard the vision, I used to be a cook flipping hamburgers at Big Boys. I grew up in the restaurant business. My family owned a franchise, and they used to turn milk crates over so I'd be tall enough to reach the grill so I could flip the hamburgers. So I started doing that at 7 years old. And so I understood franchising. I understood the entrepreneurial attitude mindset. I understood struggle. I understood they were never ultra successful because in real estate, in business, you know, it's location, and they just didn't have a good location, good brand, good name, good vision for them. But it was a struggle. And so in my mid-20s, I went to a meeting and I saw Mark Hughes, the same person that affected Steve. And I heard an opportunity. I was underweight, didn't care about nutrition. I was young, in my mid-20s. I got in it for the money. But what happened was I stayed in it because of the product and the effect it had on me. And the results I started getting, my health started improving, my energy started improving, I started gaining weight. And so I got in for the money, but it transitioned. And so I took that and I learned, and I struggled for a couple of years, actually 4 years. I struggled. And then I got around some more mentors. Jim Rohn was one of my early mentors, and Larry Thompson and Jim Faubert and John Peterson. They started changing my life. And Jim Rohn had a famous phrase. He said, if you want to make 100,000 a year, you have to be worth 100,000 a year. The marketplace pays for value. He said, the exciting thing about that is you can increase your value because personal growth comes before the fortune. And I said, okay. So I started working on myself and I started doing what they told me to do, use the product, talk to people, demo the product. And it started changing. And then I had the opportunity to go internationally. And I lived in Mexico City for a year and started recruiting, training, building. Then I went to France, in Bordeaux, France, and started building and recruiting. Then I went to Israel, started recruiting and building. And so my life started to change in a lot of ways. And then from making $17,000 a year flipping hamburgers to 7 years later, making $1 million a year, over $120,000 a month, lots of things changed. And it wasn't me. It was the opportunity. It was the timing. It was the mentoring. It was the vehicle. And I was just able to transfer that stuff. And then things happen. Life gets in the way. Companies change. Things go. And I disappeared for 10 years. And then I came back and Larry Thompson said something I'll never forget. He said, when you become successful, they will find a way to take away everything you've ever earned, but they can never take away what you learned. And so I applied that knowledge in another direct sales business going door to door. And I was able to, in about 3.5 years, build the largest producing door-to-door sales team in the country. And again, made a fortune helping other people make more money than they've ever made. And some of those guys that I work with are still in that industry and they still thank me for changing their lives. And so that was an exciting opportunity. And I said, I've been teaching and training, been successful. Now it's time to build my own brand. And so I started doing that. And I swore I'd never go back into the direct sales industry just because of the letdown, the frustration, the way the industry was going. And I left it for over 25 years. And then when this opportunity came about, Steve and Dave called me and they said, hey, we're putting something together. We want your input. And I said, okay, whatever I can do, because I've been in touch with them. I love these guys and we have a history. And so I started, as this thing started coming to light and it started getting ready to go live, I said, this is going to be pretty magical. I said, this is a product I already use. I already believe in webinars. I do them to build my business, to coach my clients, to build my business. I said, and so the product for me was a no-brainer. I said, okay, so using the product, that's easy for me. This is different than the nutrition business because that I wasn't ready for. I was looking for the money. This was different. I said, okay, if money comes, that's great, but I'm going to use the product. I said, not only that, it's an industry that it's already exists. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry with 500 million people a day getting on a live webinar. And I said, so I don't really have to convince anybody that they should at least experience the technology. And then the international translator comes into play and I says, geez, I don't have to go around the world anymore and live in foreign places and leave my family behind. I can actually do it from my laptop. And I can talk in English and they can hear it in the language of their choice and I can expand internationally. I said, this is going to revolutionize an entire industry. This is going to change the way people look at communication and webinars forever. So getting in at the right time, timing, getting in before the momentum actually hits, getting before they go live. Even in 5 years, if you get into this is going to be magical because it's changing the way people communicate. But if you can get in early, like we are now, that just adds spice and flavor to the opportunity and the amount of people that we can affect. So I'm all about helping other people. Zig Ziglar, he said, if you help enough people get what they want, you automatically get what you want. So I've had my success. And it's not that money isn't an issue. One of my early mentors, he said, once in a while you'll hear somebody say, money isn't everything. Money doesn't make you happy. And I used to buy that. And then I heard something amazingly profound. Whenever anybody ever says money can't make you happy, just look them in the eye and say, that's because you haven't given enough away. And that changes everything. And they look at themselves and they're like, they don't know what to say. So now it's all about giving back. And if we can give back through an opportunity where people can actually build their brand, build their business quicker, faster, better, and increase their customer base and get sales in real time, that's something magical. Being able to communicate, prospect, using AI. So for me, the product is amazing. There's nothing else like it. The opportunity is awesome. If Pxch is your brand, and if you want Pxch to be your brand, if you want to grow into it, it will change a lot of people's lives. This opportunity will change many people's lives, millions, I believe it's going to affect. And so using the product, talking to people when they ask you about the product, and if you don't want to wait till they ask you, call them up on the phone and invite them to a live demo. The demo is magical. It will actually change their perception of what you're trying to tell them, and they'll actually experience it for the first time. So using the product, talking to people, demoing the product is the simple formula that we have. And we want to make it simple. It's not easy because you got to talk to people, but it's simple because you've got a support system that can help you do that. We've got a support system, which we'll talk about a little bit later, that opens up Steve's calendar to live demos. Your leaders, the people that brought you in, may be ready to they may be doing their own live demos. They can actually help you. So that's a little bit of my story and where I'm coming from. And now I'm doing whatever I can to help as many people as I can see the vision, at least experience the technology. If I tell you about it and you don't want to see the technology, you don't want to experience it, I got nothing for you. But if you experience it and you're not interested, I got all the respect in the world for you. But what I found is most people that experience it, they get that wow factor. They get that wow moment and they say, oh my gosh, now I know what you were trying to tell me. I'm glad I experienced it. And so it's a process. And so with that's my story. And what I'm trying to do now is hopefully it resonated with you. Hopefully you got a couple key points on there, is just stay plugged in. And by the way, that's what I did. I stayed plugged in. As many opportunities and many events that I could participate in to learn. Remember that, you earn what you're worth. If you want to make 100,000 a year, 200,000 a year, 100,000 a month, you have to be worth it. So it's changing. It changed me. Yeah, I was a cook flipping. I still know how to cook hamburgers, by the way. But I know a lot more, and I can share a lot more, and I can do a lot more, and I can affect a lot more people. And with this opportunity, it's global. It's automatically right now in 200 countries. So who do you know? What's that separation? Six people separation from everybody in the world? Mm-hmm. I don't know anybody in Korea, but who do you know that knows somebody in Korea? I don't know anybody in Australia, but who do you know that knows somebody in Australia? So that's the magic of this international translator. It's the magic of this platform. Is the world is at our fingertips. So with that, I want to introduce our next speaker, who I've come to know. He's excitable. He's got a great smile. He's got great presentation, amazing experience. And he's going to share some of that with you today. So I'm going to turn it over to Rick Amico out of New York. Rick, come on.
Thank you very much, Harry. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, you're good.
Awesome. All right. So, man, what a call. This is when things really start to get exciting. And I got to tell you what, I always open with some gratitude. I am so grateful to God for this opportunity, especially the timing. I have been looking for something for a long time and almost gave up when Pxch was dropped into my lap by my friend John Nelson. I'm going to get into that story in a little bit because it's really relevant. But just know that I'm really grateful to be with all of you here today. So what I was asked to do today is to kind of do like a little introductory training. Gary did something last week that was, really high level. This is geared towards somebody that's either brand new or somebody who maybe has been here but hasn't quite gotten the traction yet, right? So this is a nuts and bolts kind of thing. And what we have is this. There's generally two people that are involved in Pxch, right? One, people who want to use Pxch to build their own brand, right? Build their own offer and make it better. And it's a perfect vehicle for that. And people who want Pxch to be their brand, right? They want Pxch to be the brand they promote. And I think that's a great idea because my opinion is that this goes vertical. So what I'm going to do, this is targeted more towards the latter. And again, people either wondering where to begin or how to get traction. So what I would like to accomplish today, and you can write this down if you have a pen, the goal here is you should walk away at the end with a clear and actionable blueprint for how to start promoting Pxch to your first core group of people. More specifically, that's the people within your own sphere of influence. When I started getting going, I was in knots. I had all this enthusiasm and energy, and I was like, and I've been in sales for 35 years, right? And I kept making mistake after mistake. So this is basically what I've learned. What I want to start with, the most important thing, something that really matters, especially at this point in timing, and that's our culture. Over 35 years in sales and sales coaching, I've been a part of many sales cultures, some healthy, some not. And I have learned that the most important thing we can establish, especially at the beginning, is our core character, right? So to that end, we work with integrity, we value honesty, we value work ethic, we don't overpromise, and we certainly don't make income claims. We lay the opportunity out as it is, allow people to do their due diligence, whatever that is, and then they make an informed decision about what's right from them. The reason that's a blessing is because ultimately, while there's never a guarantee in life, one of the most important things that typically makes people successful in any type of sales funnel is the amount of activity they put in with consistency. So with that said, I want to start with a story that I told Dave I was going to tell the story. He's a football guy. I'm a football guy, and I think it's just perfectly relevant to Pxch. So for those of you that know football, in 1958, going back a ways, the Green Bay Packers had the worst record in football. They were 1-10-1, right? Immediately thereafter, a name you may know, Vince Lombardi, he took the helm, right? And within a few short years, the Green Bay Packers were one of the most winning dynasties in all of football. In fact, if you follow the Super Bowl, you know that the Super Bowl trophy is called the Lombardi Trophy. How did he do it? Everybody expected him to come in with all these highbrow ideas and sophisticated stuff. He started his first meeting with 5 words that changed football forever. He held up a football and he said, "Gentlemen, this is a football." What was he really saying? He was saying, I am going to tear you down to your fundamentals. We are starting at day one. And what he did to make them successful was a relentless focus on the basics. In football, it's blocking, tackling, and catching, right? What are our fundamentals at Pxch? You've heard it said a million times. Use, talk, demo. So the question becomes, what does that really look like in practice? So starting with use. First, I think it's important to note that we are blessed with a free affiliate plan where anybody can participate in the same reward structure as anybody else, even if they get a pro plan, right? That's a wonderful thing that was done with intention by our founders so that this was open to anyone that wants to work it, right? I don't know if it exists, maybe it does, but I'm not aware of any other platform that has something like that. So having said that, and I'm sure I'm already speaking to the choir because I think most of the people already have the software on this call, but does it help to have the software and why? Of course. Why? When you use the software, you have the opportunity to really become familiar with it, right? When I first started talking about Pxch in the very beginning, I wasn't so adept at it because I hadn't been using it consistently, right? When you do, you gain the confidence of the use, and you have a first-person testimonial that's also going to inform your ability to answer questions. So what's a roadmap for you if you're new? Or if you're recruiting people, what's a good roadmap for the people that you're recruiting? My thoughts, my suggestions. As soon as you sign up, either that day or the day after, right? We already know that Steve does a training Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, right? How rare is it that a CEO will do a platform training, by the way? Tells you a lot about the culture, right? And he will answer any questions they have. He's going to walk you through it from step one to as sophisticated as you want to get. How do you make it interactive? How do you make an avatar? Whatever you need, he's there to support you, as is your team. Point 2, spend a minimum of 15 minutes a day playing around, learning. Break things, make mistakes, right? Don't look for perfect. It should be mostly intuitive, but at the end of the day, the experience of doing it is what's going to get you better. One of the guys we have on the call that we recruited, his name is Phil. I know he's getting into the software. He's been in sales longer than me. He's world-class, better than me. And his first thing was, I got to get into the software and really learn this thing, right? If you get stuck, don't forget at the bottom right of the corner of our demo page or our dashboard page, we have an AI assistant. It's one of the best in the business. Use it, ask it questions. You can even have it schedule a meeting. So, takeaway. By the end of your first few days, what should you really be able to do? What should your recruits really be able to do? One, obviously log in, right? But certainly start an instant meeting, start a scheduled meeting, make a web page go interactive, and most importantly to me, learn your Success Academy. Over on your left, you scroll down, enter code 76116, and there's two things you're going to want to know. One is the rewards plan. So if you're recruiting to build a team, you can speak factually to the plan because that's the ultimate authority on our reward program. But two, to scale the business, you need to be able to find the invite page and to be able to schedule a demo with Steve in the VIP invite. If you can do those things, you've got everything you need from a technical perspective to get going because our process is really simple, okay? Number two, talk. Have you ever been so blown away by a movie that you told your friends with wild enthusiasm, and that's the key, man, you got to see this movie, right? I think that's a shared experience we have all had. And a lot of times your friends go see the movie just on your say-so, right? So it occurred to me shortly after starting, because I was failing, I was over-explaining, trying to talk too much, that I was telling and not selling, right? And that's when it struck me. My real job is just to sell the demo. It's to move it to the next step. I'm not going to do better than Steve on a demo when I'm brand new. I don't think anybody is, right? So the first big takeaway is just sell the demo, and it has everything to do with how you say it as much as what you say, right? So here's what I said. Practically speaking, what did I say? Because I kept getting tongue-tied because I was so excited by Pxch, right? I get somebody on the phone, and I built a list of, in the beginning. This is before networking. This is square one. Who do I want to be in business with? Who do I want to accompany me on this opportunity? Who's fun? Who's open-minded? And I just get them on the phone with my own personal credibility, and I'd say, listen, you know me. I don't get crazy excited about a lot, but I just saw the most exciting piece of software, and I think you can not only use it for your business where that was applicable, but I think we've got a real opportunity to take this thing worldwide and have a ball with it. You've got to get on a 10-minute demo with me and tell me what you think. I didn't even ask them to get on the demo. I'm like, you just got to do it, right? You just got to see the movie. Same enthusiasm, same energy, same result. Now, some of the people would say, maybe 30%, 40%, okay, well, what is it? And in the beginning, again, I got tripped up here because I started explaining too much. What I learned was this. You know what? I just saw it myself. How I would describe it is as a touch point webinar platform, but there's so much more to it than that. In fairness to you, nod to Gary Finke, you really have to see it to understand it. I just saw it, and all I know is this. It does something I've never seen before, and I think there's an enormous opportunity that goes with it. For the fraction of people within my sphere of influence that would say something like, I don't know if I'm really looking for anything right now, right? I think we've all gotten that. I would say, you know what? I get it. First of all, I think you could use it. And look, I know you've done well in business. You're a smart guy. Even if you're not looking for something, I'm thinking of jumping in up to my waist and promoting it. So would you please just do me the favor and take a look at it, give me your opinion, and tell me if you see what I'm seeing. Why did that work for me? It takes all of the pressure off the person that you're showing it to, right? All it is at that point is a personal ask. take a look at this. I'm going to do it. I value your opinion. Will you put a second set of eyes on it for me, right? And the enthusiasm about the opportunity, I was told a long time ago, sales is really a transfer of energy. If you can take the same enthusiasm you would talk about a movie somebody's got to see and apply it here, that's when things work, right? Step 3, our demo. In the beginning, do not do what I do. I failed miserably because I'm a control freak and I want to do everything myself, right? Do not do your own demos. That's my suggestion, right? Nobody on day 1, week 1, month 1 is going to be able to do a demo like Steve Jameson, right? So Steve not only does the best demos, you get the added benefit of introducing somebody to a CEO who's built 3 companies that have generated roughly $4 billion. That's not every day you get to get on a phone with that guy, right? It's worth it for the experience alone, right? And he's also great at developing the need in the person, right? The key for the demos and stuff for me was this, and this goes back to a Tony Robbins quote: never leave the scene of a goal without taking at least one action towards its completion, right? I tend to get a little scattered, and I always have to take myself back to that quote, right? So when you start, don't worry about being perfect, right? Especially not with your initial list of people you know. Just get into activity, say what we teach, right? And take it from there. Now, how do you do that? Again, this is if for someone that's brand new, most of the people probably know this, but this is one of the most important pillars we teach. Success Academy, 76116, VIP invite. Everybody needs to know how to book Steve's calendar, right? And the final takeaway for this part is me, right? These demos are not about sales psychology. I'd say technique is maybe 20% of this, right? The core leaders in this opportunity, and I think typically in a sales funnel, do something more than everybody else. They get a minimum of 4, preferably 6 people on a demo with Steve per week, right? So we know there's never a guarantee in life, but if you commit yourself to that level of activity, at a minimum, I believe you shift the probabilities in your favor, okay? So next step, what does my day look like? Right now, I'm doing a lot of networking meetings, but how did I start in the beginning, right? I went back to Networking 101. I made a list of everybody I knew, first and foremost, that had a business, right? Because Pxch is such a great tool to help somebody grow their business. And I really wanted to take that to people. And then I made a separate list of people that I'm like, who do I want to enjoy this ride with? If this blows up and we get to travel the world, who do I want going with me? Who's open-minded? Who's fun, right? And I just brought it to them. And I brought it when I started having real traction. I simply said what I said earlier in the call. And that changed everything for me, right? Going from trying to talk about HTML5, like I know anything about it, to just come take a look at this, right? So that's really that for me. If I could leave you with one big thing, that's what moved the needle for me in the beginning, right? Let them know you value their opinion and why, genuinely, right? And just let them know, I need you to help me evaluate this. I'm jumping in. Let me be my second set of eyes. I'm a Bible guy. Proverbs tells us to seek counsel. Just help me take a look. So with that said, I want to kind of just finalize into mindset, because mindset for me is very important, right? We're very lucky to be on a call with guys like Steve and Dave and Harry, guys that have had mentoring by Jim Rohn, of all people. For those of you that don't know, he's the guy who made Tony Robbins, right? So there's a story, I don't know where I heard it, but I think it's particularly relevant. This is a true story. Early 1500s, a guy named Hernan Cortez lands on the shores of a place called Veracruz, right? He's got 500 men with him. He's facing an empire, no exaggeration, millions of people. His men were terrified. They're looking back at the ships, trying to figure out an escape route. Cortez gives a radical order: burn the ships. Why? He foreclosed any opportunity other than we either win or we perish. No plan B. Now in sales, we don't burn physical ships, but we do leave psychological escape hatches wide open, right? For example, if you set that goal of 4 demos a week, you might say, hey, look, if I don't hit 4 this week, I'll just do 8 next week, right? The decision to really make it successful is when you've said, no, I'm burning the excuses. I'm all in. I'm up to my waist. I'm ready to go. So that said, I'm not the kind of guy to ask you guys to do something that I myself am not willing to do. So I'm going to give you a process with a challenge attached. Here's what I do. I'd suggest getting out a pen, working on it this week. Okay. I start with a 3x5 index card, and I always write my why. Steve talked about that at the beginning, right? Your why is what motivates you through the pain, right? For me, it always starts off with the kingdom. I went to a high school, and our motto was all for the glory and honor of God, right? We were taught that everything we do, even the simple things, and especially our work, we can devote that to the service of God by serving others. 2, it's helping businesses grow. I signed up for this. My friend John Nelson called me. He starts telling me about it, right? I've been in sales forever. And as soon as he said, like Zoom, but you can make it interactive and they can take action now. I didn't even see a demo. I said, sign me up. It's done. It solves the biggest leak in the webinar funnel that's known. I'm in. If it really does that, I'm in, right? So my second why is helping businesses grow. My third why is building a team. I love coaching people. I love seeing people grow and hit their goals. So that's my third why. My fourth, my burning why is my daughter. I've got a beautiful daughter. I want her to go to a great college so she can be whoever she wants to be in her life. And I want to help build generational wealth for her and her family. So at the end of the day, when I don't feel like making that one more phone call, I've got that index card taped to my monitor, and I remind myself of why I'm making one more call. Beneath that, I make the promise to myself of what I'm going to do. For me, it says, I, Richard Amico, am committing next week to getting 4 live demos done. Period. The end. I'm burning the ships. I'm getting it done, right? I commit to it. No ifs. It's done, right? So here's my challenge to you. Now, as an aside, I looked at Steve's calendar. He's got 4 slots left for next week, so it's not going to work for next week. My first challenge is next week. Work on your index card. If you think that's helpful, work on your index card, right? Write down your why. Below that, write your commitment. Again, the best leaders in this company seem to be doing one thing more often than anybody. They're getting 4 to 6 people on a demo with Steve every week. I'm telling you, I will make that commitment with you. So my ask is, who will do that with me, right? This isn't something I'm going to say, hey, go do this. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it. So next week, write the why, and the following week, which is the week of, the calendar would come up, week of the 31st. Who will commit with me? Put a yes in the chat if you're willing to do it. Who will commit with me to doing that? I told Harry when we were talking about this call, the goal is going to be to saturate Steve so much that he's going to have no choice to do one-to-many webinars every day during the week. So that's my ask. Who's going to do it? Let's see. Oh, yeah, look at this. All right. I love it. So that's what I've got. That's what I've got. Harry, is there anything you wanted to ask? Anything?
Yeah, a couple things. By the way, this is really, really good, Rick. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Those are exciting points. But I had 2 things. When you started, you said now you sell the demo. When you first started, you told me the other day that you tried to take it all on yourself. And even today, you said you said a little bit too much. How was it about 4 to 6 weeks before you realized that you were selling the wrong thing?
You know, you always gauge how you're doing by your outcome, right? And because, you know, sometimes you can be too smart for your own good. Because I've been in sales for so long, anytime you're selling a product, right, you're always trained with product knowledge, right? That's one of the first pillars of everything. So my natural inclination was, yeah, sell the features. To your point, yeah, it was about 4 to 6 weeks after evaluating how am I doing that I really said, okay, the only goal here, right? It's kind of like that movie, if you're a baseball guy, what was the movie? Moneyball, right? The goal was to get base hits. The base hit here is getting somebody on a demo with Steve. You do enough base hits, you're putting people into home plate. And yes, for me, it was right around my best recollection, right around 4 weeks that I had that light bulb moment and said, shut up and sell the demo. Right.
So here's why I asked everybody is that one tip alone compresses time where you just saved 4 to 6 weeks doing your business, introducing people. If you rely on what you know about the product to try to sell the product without doing a demo, you give your prospect just enough information not to want to see a demo. And so focus on selling the demo, getting them on the call with Steve. And if you understand that, and by the way, Steve is really flexible. And if he's not available, you have other leaders in your group that can do a live demo with you, but he's flexible. So if you have an unusual situation where it's outside of his calendar, send an email and see if he's available. And he's been amazingly generous. So that's one thing. The other thing I wanted to ask, or I wanted to share, is Rick said 4 to 6 demos a week. Okay, but what do I got to do every day to get 4 to 6 demos a week? And so let's bring it down. What I found is if I reach out to and talk to or get a 2-minute 2-minute explanation somehow to 4 to 6 people a day, I get 4 to 6 demos lined up a week. So what are you doing today? Am I talking to 4 people today? Because you're not just going to end up with 4 people on a demo at the end of the week without doing something every single day. So what is your daily method of operation, or DMO? Now, even if you're part-time, and when I started, I was part-time. Even though I was excited about it, I still had a coaching business to deal with. I still had clients I'm working with. So I did it part-time and started using the product. But I still got 4 to 6 people a week on a demo with Steve. And that was a fast track. So those were 2 real key things I wanted to share about that. And I got one more speaker I want to bring on here who was the first ever platinum member with Pxch. He was also the first pro platinum member with Pxch. He's continually recruits more people than anybody. Him and Ray are neck to neck. So I'm going to bring from Grand Junction, Colorado, biker Phil Franklin. Phil, you there? Come on.
Of course I'm here. How is everybody this morning?
Great, man. We're anxious to hear what's your story. Tell us, what are you doing? Why are you still so excited? You've been #1 for months. You're the first pro platinum. What are you doing every single day to keep this machine going?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Those of you that have been around the industry, been in network marketing, the lifeblood of network marketing is your 3-way calls. Making the phone call, connecting them with the person above you or somebody that knows more than you do. And the lifeblood of Pxch is connecting them to Steve. Guys, if you're not using Steve every day, every other day, at least a couple times a week, you are missing out. Because Steve is, he's the CEO. Not only that, who better can tell the story than the person that thought of it, that created it, that helped, design it, that it was his baby. Why not get him on the phone or get him on the computer with Steve? That's one thing I do every day. I make sure I find somebody that's going to be on the pitch with Steve. And I will not miss that. I mean, every day I try and find a new person to put in front of Steve. And that's the thing that all you guys need to do. I mean, use talk demo, right? Use the product, talk about the product, demo. Well, get everybody you can in front of Steve. Guys, I'm telling you, that's the biggest secret that you could ever see. You know, I talk to people all the time. I talk to them about Pxch. I tell them about it. And what my goal is, get them in front of Steve. Steve is the one that can close the door, close the whole deal. And
So,
he's
so
so
let
amazing.
me interrupt you for a second, Phil, because this is really, really good. So the first people that you started talking to were people that you knew. Am I correct in saying that?
Correct.
Okay, so that's what got you off to a fast start, and you had an amazing number that you signed up in the first day or two. What was that you got in to see the demo? How many did you bring into the business in that first day or two?
The first day that I signed up, I brought in 9 people that night. 9 people the first day I signed up.
Okay, and this
with our amazing, you know, company and compensation, the way that it works, if you bring in 3 people, then your service is paid for. So guys, I got signed up. I brought in 9 people on my first day, and I haven't put another dime out of pocket since. That's been over a year.
So, okay, so this is the next question then. People that you know, sometimes new people are a little shy, or they say, well, you know, they prejudge, you know, that person's not going to do it, or they don't need it, or, you know, I'm afraid to talk to them. Can you share with us maybe a little bit about what you said to some of these people to get them at least interested to want to get on a demo?
Well, what I usually tell a person when I talk to anybody, you know, it's the next innovation in Zoom. It's the thing that's I tell people that, you know, I've got a good friend of mine, and actually the way this all started was Dave. He called me up and he said, "Mr. Franklin, how are you today?" I said, "Great, Dave. How have you been?" Hey, we started talking. We caught up for a minute, and I know Dave. I've known Dave for 20, 25 years, and I know what he's done in the industry. And I said, "All right, Dave, so what do you got?" He goes, "I ain't going to tell you." So what do you mean you aren't going to tell me? He goes, "Nope, I ain't going to tell you anything." I said, "All right." So we talked for a minute longer, and I said, so what do you got? And he goes, "I'm not going to tell you." I said, "All right, Dave. I mean, I know you. I mean, it's got to be something amazing." He goes, "Mr. Franklin," he said, "I want to introduce you to my strategic partner." He said, "If you like what you see from there, then we'll go forward." He said, "If not, no harm, no foul." I said, "Well, let's make this happen." So he put me on the pitch with Steve, just like I'm telling you guys. Get yourself in front of Steve. That's how Dave did it. And so I watched him. I got to meet Steve, and he showed me the whole process. And this was 1.0, guys. Nothing compared to what we have now. Nothing. Okay. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching this and I'm going, whoa, wait a minute. Really? What? Holy, wow. This is awesome. All right. So next thing I know, I'm like, I'm in. That's it. I'm all in. I said, "All right, Dave, send me whoever's link it is." I said, "I'm in." I said, "I don't care who's my upline, who's my support, whatever." I said, "Send me their link. I'm ready to go." "Mr. Franklin, I can't send you somebody's your link." He said, "We're not open yet." He said, "Okay." I said, "So where do we go from here?" He goes, "When we open up, the day that we open, you'll get the link directly from the company." I'm like, "Really? Okay, I can deal with that." I said, "All right, who's my support?" He goes, "Myself and Steve." "Really? Okay, I'm all in. So that was how it all happened. Dave did exactly what I'm telling you. Put me in front of Steve. All you guys, if you're not putting people in front of Steve, you're missing out. You need to put people in front of Steve. And then once you do, all you gotta do is let him do the work. All we have to do is invite more people, talk to more people. And you don't need to tell them the whole story. I mean, I tell them a little bit because I know Dave. All right. But then I tell them, but the guy that I got to meet, the CEO of this company, he was with Omni. Do you remember Omni? And a lot of us that are from the industry know what Omni was. So they're like, yeah, I've heard of that. I say, how about everybody in the industry? No matter if you're from network marketing or not, you've probably heard of Success Magazine, right? Oh, yeah, I remember Success. Steve was the one that brought them from bankruptcy to saving their company. He brought them from the newsstand to digital. Really? And on top of that, he was the top ISP Zoom partner in the world. And they're like, really? All right, I'm interested. This guy knows what he's doing. So all you got to do is put people in front of him. Let him tell the story. And he's so amazing because he doesn't just tell the story. He tells the story. He tells what's going on. He's the person to answer the questions. If somebody's sitting there going, man, I don't know about this, Steve comes back. He is so diplomatic. I can't say enough about Steve or Dave. I'm telling you guys are in such an amazing position because I don't believe that this comes around more than once in a lifetime. To be in something like this.
Hey, Harry, can I jump in for a second? Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, Dave.
When I did that demo for you, you were like one of the first demos I ever did. And I had this whole thing planned about how I was going to do it. And you ruined the whole presentation because you said yes and hello.
Yeah.
I don't even know. You screwed me up completely at that point, right? The second thing I want to say to everyone is, again, I'm not the issue, right? We keep saying it's me, but it's the platform, right? So it's just that I'm articulate enough to demo the platform, but let's not confuse. I'm not the star here. The platform is. That's what sells for me. Otherwise, I'd be a better sales guy. It's the platform that sells. Number two, I do want to jump in on something that Rick said. And I always argue with Dave about the difference between concepts and techniques, right? The concept today, right, is let's get a demo. I think we're clear the demo works. What you're hearing today is a lot of different techniques, right? Everyone says something else that works for them or works for the person they're talking to get the concept of getting in front of a demo. For me, like one of the techniques that I would use, right? Again, it's just a technique. It's not something you need to do, is when I'm speaking to someone in insurance, someone in real estate, someone in sports, what are they? They're competitive, right? If they think someone else is using this platform in their business, they want a demo, right? They don't want anyone to have a competitive advantage over them. So if you say to somebody, and it's true, people in network marketing are using this, people on Shopify are using this, people in real estate are using this, you need to see this because people in your business are using it. Also, that's where you want to go to the communication center, because sometimes you can have a demo before the demo with one of our 1-minute videos to make them visually see it better, right? These are techniques, right? You will find your own techniques, your own strategies to fulfill that concept. They need to experience the platform. As we said earlier, it's not selling features, it's selling an experience. And that's what works. So I just wanted to, jump in with that. And just so you know, right? Yes, the goal is to go from one-to-one demos to one-to-many. Imagine getting in front of 3,000 people a day because there's 500 people on 6 or 7 demos in a day. And one thing Harry and I have learned and Phil have learned in this business for many times, we're all duplicatable, all of us. So imagine 10 of us doing demos filled up with hundreds of people. Like, again, Ray does a better demo than I do now, right? That's the beauty of this business. Everything we're doing is duplicatable and scalable. But right now, the one thing that we all have in common, no matter who's doing the demo, it's the platform. That's what speaks loudest. So, Harry, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just got a few things here, and we'll wrap it up. So, by the way, thank you so much for Gary, what you got going on, Rick, Steve, obviously, and Phil sharing your techniques and your strategies and your thought processes. So for the new person, it's like, okay, what do I do next? What's happening now? Well, obviously, use the product, talk to people, get demos going on. That's the formula. And let's expand on it a little bit, because we're in a very unique and awesome time frame where the calendar works in our advantage. August is traditionally one of the slowest months of the year in the direct sales industry, in most sales, because people go on vacation. It's the number one vacation month. But those that work in August, which we've been doing, take momentum into September, which is one of the biggest months of the year, just because of the natural flow of the calendar. People are back to school. Parents are now looking for, they got an empty house. They're looking to get busy and go back to work and make a little extra money before the holidays. So the natural flow of the calendar, we're in the middle of August, and it's an opportunity, actually near the end of August, it's a natural opportunity to take momentum into September. Why? Because those that take momentum, those that get started in September will generally get off to a jump start, as opposed to those starting in August. But those that work in August and take momentum into September will exponentially score. And then October and November, those are the payoff months for what you did in August and September. And then we do it again in December. We take momentum into January, which is the second biggest month of the year. And we take momentum into that, and we set up our entire first quarter for 2027. So, okay, how do I do that? What's the next step? The next step is, I'm going to share my screen here if you don't mind, is to understand the calendar. Work in the calendar, which we have right here, where you have next week, we've got onboarding workshops. So those that get started today, you've got about 48 hours to go through the platform. And those of you that are new that sign up this week, go through the platform, write down some questions, get familiar with it, get in there, get your hands dirty with setting up meetings, set up your own meeting, get into your own meeting, start going through some of the features. But on Monday, the 24th at 4 p.m., we've got an onboarding workshop, again, done by Steve, where he answers all the questions, any questions that you can possibly have. And then you'll actually hear other questions from other people that you might not have thought of, but had on your mind. So he compresses time, gets you off to a fast start, and goes through all the mechanics, anything that you need to go to the next step. And then right back again on Tuesday at 4 o'clock. So working event to event is how I built my business and how I generated my personal growth. Because the more I involved myself, well, Harry, I can't make it on Monday. Okay, make what you can, fit what you can in. The more you do, the more advantages you'll have. There's no disadvantage, just advantages. And then Tuesday night, this open house, this is an exciting opportunity for not only you to come to see the bigger picture, where we share testimonials from all over the world, but you can actually invite people that you may have talked to between today and Tuesday night. Invite them to see the bigger picture. Invite them to see, hey, you want to see what's going on around the world? You want to see the next hottest thing, the next software that's blowing things up? You got to come Tuesday night and check this thing out. If you don't like it after 30 minutes, 15 minutes, hang up and get off. But I'm telling you something, this thing is changing the world. It's changing the way people look at webinars. And so using the calendar from event to event, then anybody you get on Tuesday night, we roll them into the onboarding workshop on Thursday so that they can get more knowledge and get their questions answered. And if you use your co-host link, your ambassador link to invite people, and you can get one of those in the back office, and you use your co-host link, if they join on Tuesday night, because we invite them to join on Tuesday night by going to the link, it's automatically coded to you. So you already have business in your back office, and you can earn cash rewards from $5 up to $100 based on what program they decide to come in at, if they're an individual or they want the business plan. And so we train them on I should say Steve trains them on Thursday at 4 o'clock, and then back again on I'm sorry, Wednesday and then Thursday. So we have 4 trainings at 4 o'clock next week. You've got the open house on Tuesday night. And then what several of the leaders and have put together is Saturday the 29th. It's not on the calendar, but I want you to put it on your calendar. It's not a company event. It's a top distributor, top member event, top leader event. We call it the Pxch Pro training class. On the 29th at 10, and the link will come out next week. You have the link, but it's at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. And that's where we get together and we talk about, since Steve covers all the product of the use part Monday through Thursday, we talk about the talk part, which you heard some of it today. We talk about the talk part on the 29th. We get into the nuts and bolts of how to build your business. Again, part-time, full-time doesn't matter. We do the same thing. Full-time people just do it more often. They do more of it, but it's the same thing. So if you're just looking to make an extra $500 a month, great. You know, there's no guarantee. It's based on your efforts. But if you want more, the opportunity is there for you with the comp plan, the way it's positioned for career-oriented people and also for part-time. If you just want to get comfortable and use it on a daily basis to build your brand, great. Saturday the 29th, we're going to get into the nuts and bolts and we're going to compress time. What we're going to teach is how to get your basic 5 in 30 days or less. In basic 5, what that means is get your first 5 members. And the reason is, you heard Phil talk about, as soon as you get 3 active members, yours is free. So like him, I did the same thing. In 8 days, I got 5 people. I haven't paid for it since the first month. But when you get 5 or more people on the active members, the company starts paying you cash rewards residual on their monthly subscription that they renew every single month. So it kicks in that second source of, or that additional source of income. So while you're building your brand, you could be building an extra revenue source on the side just by using, talking, answering questions, demoing, and so forth. So using the calendar, the 29th, we're going to do that at 10 o'clock a.m. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 company sponsored events between now and then, a leadership event on the 29th, and closing out the month strong is what you want that your goal to be. Closing out the month strong so that you can take the maximum momentum into September, where we take advantage of the fall harvest. Right now we're nurturing and planting, and we got the fall harvest coming up September, October, November. So with that, Steve, any last comments before we close it up today?
No, if anyone has any questions based on today, we're not going to take Q&A today, but that's what Monday, 4 o'clock Eastern is. So please bring new guests. Scott, you stayed with us the whole time. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I know this really wasn't designed for the new people, but hopefully you got a lot.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. This is exactly what I'm looking for, experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.